Oh, it's Jinder's gear reviews.
Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jinder. I'm here doing a series of gear reviews, basically talking about the guitars, mics, interfaces, pedals, amps, leads, stands, all that kind of stuff that I've been using for the last 23 odd years as a full-time singer, songwriter, touring artist, recording person, and general snappy dresser and all-round good egg. Today I am coming to you with this battered old Warhorse, which is actually an enormous guitar. This is a 2002 Takamine EAN20C Jumbo. This thing is a beast, but a very gentle giant, shall we say. It has a cedar top, the only cedar top guitar I own. In fact, the only cedar top guitar I've ever owned, mainly because cedar is very, very soft, and I'm not the most delicate of players, shall we say. I have great big hands and great big arms, and I'm built like a brick outhouse, so my guitars have to generally be quite durable things when they're on the road with me. This was my main touring guitar for about 3.5 years, from 2002 to 2005, and I went all over the world with this thing, and it's great. It's such a lovely old guitar. I recorded my album Willow Park with it in 2004, and some of my album I'm Alive, which was the follow-up to that, was written with it. The album I made with Nick Cull, the Olas and Jinder album, The Best of Days Ahead, I played this on that as well, and it's certainly done its time in the trenches. It's got, as I said, a cedar top, solid mahogany back, which is satin finish and still has a lovely satin sheen to it, laminated mahogany sides, following the kind of Armstrong theory of decoupling the top and back, the solid resonant components with laminated back and sides. Hasn't done this guitar any harm at all. It's got a rosewood fingerboard and bridge, Loudon style pinless bridge, which makes for quite an interesting setup. Lovely mahogany neck, and the proprietary Takamine machine heads, which are actually made by Goto. These have been flawless. I've played hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gigs with this guitar all over the world, and these machine heads are still the original ones. Utterly flawless. Very highly recommended. It's been refretted a couple of times. I had this guitar basically totally overhauled when I made my album Traditional Dark, because at the time all of my other guitars had been sold. I was entirely on my arse financially. This was the last guitar standing. So this guitar did the majority of Traditional Dark, and the tour for it, which was the last tour that I took this guitar out for. It has the Takamine CT4B2, unwieldy name, preamp, which is very, very good. Originally, when I got this guitar, it had the Cool Tubes preamp, which has a valve in it, and I love things with valves in. But unfortunately, the Cool Tube preamp let me down, and I put the solid state CT4B2 back in. It's got the palathetic undersaddle pickup. These guitars sound brilliant plugged in. Everybody knows what a Takamine guitar sounds like plugged in, so I'm not going to plug it in for you. You don't need to hear what it sounds like plugged in, because it's just a plugged in electro-acoustic guitar, but they are very, very good staged guitars. It's a corking guitar. It's got a huge body and, very balanced kind of sound. It doesn't have any, it's not as dramatic as a Gibson or as nuanced as like a Martin or a Collings or something like that. But it's got this kind of really nice, friendly kind of sound. It records very well. It's very balanced on the mic. You don't really have to do a lot to it in post-production, EQ wise or anything like that. If you've got a decent mic and a decent preamp, you're laughing. And it's got, for such a big guitar, it doesn't have an overwhelming preponderance of bass. It's got a nice It's got a modern tonality, I suppose you'd say. I suppose you could say it sounds a little anemic for blues. Does the job, functional. It's not one of these guitars that as somebody said to me when I bought my first Gibson SJ200 back in 2004, something like that. When I owned this guitar, the guy said to me, "I really liked your Takamine. It's a great sounding guitar." He said, "But no cool dead black guys played one like the Gibson. That's much cooler." And I thought, well, that's kind of a point, I suppose, But Takamine has played by people like Christy Moore, so you can't really argue with that. Townes Van Zandt played a Takamine for a little bit in the 80s before he got his Gibson SJ200, and they're a good guitar. I've got nothing against Takamine. It's quite dependable for sort of. Quite soft, nice for kind of jazzy stuff. I like it. There's a big part of my musical history wrapped up in this guitar. I think if I'd never played it, and I had played all of the Gibsons that I've played over the years, and I came to this guitar with a fresh pair of ears and a fresh pair of eyes now, I would probably find it maybe as an off-the-peg guitar, maybe a tiny bit on the sterile side, but I'm used to playing Gibsons which have got this huge kind of like difficult personality, and that's I like a guitar that fights me a little bit. I like a guitar that sort of kicks back at the player a touch, and the Takamine doesn't. It's very approachable, it's very friendly, it's a Labrador, not a Rottweiler, but that's a good thing as much as a criticism. The great thing with these is you can pretty much pick one of these up, like the modern equivalent, which is I think the P3JC, something like that, the jumbo cutaway P3 model. You can pretty much pick one up in Stockholm from a hire company. You can take it to your gig and you can plug it in and play it, and it will sound great. And then you can fly to Miami the next night and get one from a gear hire company there and plug it in. It will sound exactly the same. It will play the same. The neck will be the same. They're factory built, machine built guitars, and much like Taylor's, they're incredibly consistent and very predictable, which is a nice thing. It's a good thing, and it's a professional level instrument. And I obviously I have a soft spot for this guitar because you can see how much it's been played. So yeah, no, on the whole, I would say if you're going to spend something in the, I think I paid about £1,200 for this back in 2002-ish. They're less money now. If you were to spend sort of 800, 900 quid and buy Japanese Takamine rather than the G series, the lower sort of echelons one, the Japanese ones such as this are very, very good sort of professional level instruments, which I would recommend to anyone who's looking for a consistent and workable instrument on a night after night basis. So I'll play you out. If you've enjoyed this review and the other reviews on my channel, please do like and subscribe. Help to keep things moving. Just for reference, the microphone I'm using for all of these reviews is an SE Electronics Gemini 2 large diaphragm condenser microphone, which is one of my favourite mics of all time. I love this mic for everything, for voiceover work, for recording guitars, for recording vocals, for recording piano, for recording anything. It's just a great mic. I should add the caveat: this is not a stock mic. The capsule is stock, but I have changed the valves. It has 1980s military spec Phillips valves in it, which have really opened it up nicely. The top end has become less aggressive and smoother, but more airy. Yeah, great improvements to be had there if you're an SE Gemini user. So yes, thank you very much, and I'll play you out with a little something.